Hello Star Wars enthusiasts, and welcome back to another exciting deep dive into the galaxy. Today, we're setting off to study the physiological makeup of one of the most intriguing figures in the Star Wars universe, the infamous Starkiller, Galen Marek. Uniquely separated from the other Sith of the Order, Starkiller has an intriguing combination of powers and abilities fueled by his dark past. We'll delve into his physical makeup to find the mysteries underlying his remarkable force powers, the lightsaber skills that made him an elite fighter, and the psychological aspects that molded his character. Join us as we examine Starkiller's beginnings and the unusual conditions of his apprenticeship that enabled him to take on even the most dangerous Jedi and Sith. Prepare to be astounded by the inner workings of this legendary figure from the Star Wars expanded universe. So, let's get started. Before we get into our explanation, we do have a very small request, however. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to the channel. It's a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot, so thank you. Let's begin. Who is Starkiller? Popularly known as Starkiller, there once lived a Force-sensitive man in a galaxy shrouded in darkness. As the son of Kento and Mali Marek, he grew up on the Wookiee homeworld of Kashyyyk. But their love went against Jedi law, and they went into hiding to avoid the Empire's vengeance following the Clone Wars and Order 66. Tragedy struck when Mali died, and the Empire's shadow crept over Kashyyyk. Darth Vader, the Dark Lord of the Sith, arrived, seeking Jedi to kill once and for all. In a fateful duel, Kento fell to Vader's lightsaber, and the Sith Lord discovered the young Galen Marek, sensing immense potential within him. Vader abducted Galen, erasing his past and his birth name. He was schooled in the dark side of the Force and became the Starkiller. However, Starkiller couldn't be a true Sith since the rule of two only permitted two Sith at a time. With Vader still apprenticed to Darth Sidious, Galen remained hidden, only known as a secret weapon bearing the call sign Starkiller. As he walked the perilous road between light and dark, his fate was intertwined with the destiny of the cosmos. Starkiller's Force Mastery. Is he the most powerful Force user? The debate over the most powerful Force user has raged on in the vast Star Wars universe for years. Among the candidates, fans commonly cite Galen Marek, Darth Vader's secret apprentice. A Sith renowned for his exceptional prowess in the Force, his powers were nothing short of astounding. But because Galen first appeared in the Force Unleashed games, we think it's important to note that gameplay mechanics prioritize fun over strict adherence to the story, giving players access to a variety of Force abilities that might or might not accurately represent Starkiller's actual capabilities. To add depth to Starkiller's story, tie-in comics and novels accompanied the games. These materials shed light on the events and nuance of his journey. While Starkiller undeniably possessed immense power, the events in The Force Unleashed were more complex than what gameplay alone might suggest. His actual power and the problems he encountered were not as simple as they look on the surface. Starkiller does something really mind-boggling in one of the most famous scenes from The Force Unleashed. He utilizes the Force to drag an entire Star Destroyer out of its position. Let's break down this sequence that's inscribed in Star Wars legend. First and foremost, the Star Destroyer had previously been on its way to a planet. Why? Because the space station building it had already been sabotaged. So, Starkiller didn't exactly play a superhero role by preventing it from crashing altogether. Instead, he redirected its course to make sure it landed in a less destructive spot. And though that still seems like a huge deal, there was a catch. Every last bit of his strength was drained. This wasn't a thing he could do whenever he wanted. In short, while yanking a Star Destroyer off of its path is incredible, it was made feasible by some very unusual conditions. Even as a young and inexperienced child, Starkiller showed some serious skills. He once casually dragged Vader's lightsaber right out of his hand. But beyond the surface level, there's more to the tale of when he actually faced off against Vader. Darth Vader, widely regarded as the most powerful Force user in the galaxy, is defeated by Starkiller in the very first Force Unleashed game. But here's the truth behind this incident that not many know. Vader actually had the upper hand initially. He pushed Starkiller back, wore him down, and had him on the ropes. It took some mind games from Starkiller to turn things around. He started questioning Vader's motives and willpower, which messed with Vader's head and weakened his defenses. That's when Starkiller seized the advantage. In the second game, Vader learned his lesson and fought smarter using mind games, but that plan went south when Vader accidentally pushed Starkiller's buttons a little too hard, sending him into a rage that gave Starkiller the upper hand. So, while Starkiller's incredible feats and abilities are truly remarkable, it's a bit more complicated to declare him the absolute strongest Force user in the Star Wars universe. His power is undoubtedly extraordinary, as seen through his capacity to move a Star Destroyer and his confrontations with Darth Vader. But although Starkiller's legacy remains impressive, it's more accurate to appreciate his exceptional power rather than definitively rank him as the absolute strongest Force user in the entire Star Wars saga. Which lightsaber form does he use? In his early lightsaber training, Galen Merrick began with the basics under Darth Vader's guidance. Their training soon escalated into intense sparring matches, pushing Marek to develop his unique style. He also sparred with training droids and always emerged victorious, showcasing his exceptional skills. Merrick was a highly skilled lightsaber duelist, capable of defeating training programs by mimicking legendary duelists. His style incorporated Dune Mok, which used taunts and psychological tactics to distract opponents. He also taught himself Soresu for defense, excelling at it despite lacking formal training. Additionally, he wielded Juyo, Niman, Ataru, and Sith Shien, using swift attacks to overpower foes quickly. While Merrick had knowledge of all 7 lightsaber forms, he didn't master them individually. Instead, he forged his own highly aggressive and unpredictable style. His intense focus allowed him to persevere in battles, but it sometimes left him vulnerable to surprise attacks from unexpected directions. It was Merrick's unorthodox approach that made him a formidable and dangerous opponent in lightsaber combat.
Now I will destroy you, Skywalker.
Starkiller is unique in how he holds his lightsaber, and he's the second apprentice of Anakin Skywalker, after Ahsoka Tano, to hold his lightsaber differently. This distinctive grip not only adds personality to his fighting style, but is also actually a part of a specific lightsaber combat style. Starkiller practiced a style called Form 5, which is all about being defensive and waiting for the right moment to strike. Form 5 has a few different branches, and Starkiller followed the Shien discipline. Now in Shien, you don't necessarily have to hold the lightsaber in that reversed grip like Starkiller did. It's more about fighting multiple enemies and being really good at deflecting blaster shots. The thing with the reverse grip, where the lightsaber is held behind the back, is that it's used for those big, sweeping attacks. But some Jedi might argue that it's not the most defensive move because it leaves you with your front kind of exposed. So while it does look incredible, it might not align perfectly with the defensive goals of the Shien style and Form 5. Is he the only one stronger than Darth Vader? Galen Merrick is one of a kind in the Star Wars universe, mostly because he's one of the only Jedi that can compete with the deadly Darth Vader. Merrick came dangerously close to killing the Sith Lord because of his intimate mastery of Vader's battle skills gained during his intense training sessions. Some claim that Merrick's success was mostly due to Vader's aging and disorganized mind. They claim Starkiller wouldn't have a chance against Anakin Skywalker in his prime, but here's the deal. Starkiller was like a young, powerful bull compared to Vader, brimming with raw power and ferocity. Starkiller didn't defeat Vader in a fair duel in The Force Unleashed. He basically buried him under a pile of rubble and damaged his armor. He also didn't try to deliver the final blow. Many believe that if he had, Vader would have found a way to turn things around or mess with his brain. Although wounded and bloody, Vader would certainly have fought back with all his might. It's also important to note here that because they aim to make the players feel like heroes, the Force Unleashed games focus on high-strung action. They are set on a bigger scale and are way more extravagant than the films, so there are quite a few differences to Star Wars' actual reality. This is one of the major challenges of making hero-centric games in such a vast and well-established universe, where some things are unlikely and others are downright impossible. In the novel, Starkiller had to be pretty clever to get the upper hand on Vader. He baited him into letting his guard down, then went for a blast on his exposed and damaged chest panel. Despite the damage, Vader still came out on top in their duel. What really set Vader apart and made him better than Starkiller, and also more dangerous, were his weaknesses. He had to adjust to his renewed existence as a cyborg, devise new strategies, mix and switch lightsaber forms, and depend on his intelligence rather than brute strength. Darth Vader was also known for never giving up, perhaps his most defining trait. Had he been able to truly unlock his vast Jedi or Sith potential, Anakin Skywalker would have been invincible. Coping with life's challenges had required him to adapt. His complexity and adaptability are what make him so interesting and also so dangerous. Is Starkiller a Sith or a Jedi? In both the Force Unleashed games, there are two different endings based on the choices Starkiller makes. One path leads him to follow the Jedi, and in this ending, he eventually becomes one with the Force. The other path takes him down the dark side, but it raises some interesting questions. But then, the very existence of Vader becomes redundant, as Starkiller's actions in the Sith version alter the course of events in the original trilogy and subsequent movies. And these alterations are pretty huge, the kind that could completely change the trajectory of the Star Wars universe. Despite all his training in the ways of the dark side, many see Starkiller more as an assassin than a true Sith apprentice. As a result, some say he doesn't clearly fall into either Jedi or Sith camps. Furthermore, these games are no longer officially included in the Star Wars canon. Therefore, everything is up for contention. But hey, it's nice to fantasize about and investigate these possible circumstances in a galaxy far, far away. Does he have any cybernetic enhancements on his body? Unfortunately, Starkiller can't beat Darth Vader's cybernetic enhancements, but he does have some really cool clones. After Galen Marek's demise, Darth Vader takes his body to Kamino. There, within the cloning facility of Tamira City, Vader aimed to create a stronger and more obedient version of his fallen apprentice. However, this cloning process had some issues. The clones retained Marek's memories and emotions, and they were haunted by visions of his life, which often drove them to madness. Despite numerous failed attempts, Vader finally produced a seemingly stable clone known as Subject 1138. Unfortunately, this clone too began experiencing these haunting visions. Fearing the same fate as his predecessors, he escaped from Kamino. This clone, who adamantly refused to be called by Marek's real name, adopted the codename Starkiller. He became increasingly unsure about his origins as he traveled the galaxy. Even after defeating Vader in a bloody struggle, Starkiller was confused if he was a clone or not. He felt that it didn't matter because he was no longer under Vader's influence, but Vader ominously declared that he would always have influence over Starkiller. Unbeknownst to the newly cloned Starkiller, Darth Vader had actually perfected the cloning process, which became evident with the progress of his latest clone. Like his predecessors, this new clone also grappled with the implanted memories and emotions of the original Starkiller, especially his feelings for Juno Eclipse. Early on, he was perplexed, wondering if these recollections genuinely were his own or if they belonged to someone else. He was compelled to consider how many clones had preceded him and what type of person his blueprint, Galen Marek, had been. Vader, being Vader, didn't feel inclined to give a detailed answer to the clone's questions. He just emphasized that Marek was a broken man and that the clone's success in training was what truly mattered. As time went on, though, Vader was pleased to see that the clone got better at separating Marek's memories from his own experiences. When the clone reached the pinnacle of its training, Vader took him to the chamber holding Marek's body. Here, Vader confirmed what the clone had already figured out, that he had surpassed all the failed clones that came before him. By then, the clone had managed to let go of Marek's emotions. He learned to despise his former self's weaknesses, essentially becoming Darth Vader's dark apprentice. When Starkiller, the rogue version of himself, returned to Kamino with a rebel fleet, Vader told his dark apprentice to stay out of it until he was needed. That's when his training would be considered complete. But, unfortunately for Vader, things didn't pan out the way he had planned. Vader was defeated and captured by the other clone, with no interference from the Dark Apprentice. But before the battle began, Starkiller had a vision of an alternate outcome, and what he might have done if Starkiller had tried to strike down Vader.
A psychological profile in there too?
Actually, yes. But it's restricted. Oh, Master, I can tell you she's going to be impossible to reprogram.
Does he have any close friends? In the Star Wars universe, it's pretty standard for the main characters to have a trusty droid buddy by their side. Starkiller was no exception, but his droid companion, Proxy, added a unique twist to his story. Vader actually built and programmed Proxy to help train Starkiller. Sounds helpful, right? Well, there's a catch. Proxy also had this peculiar programming that made him want to kill his master, which in this case was Starkiller. But here's the twist. Despite the constant threat, Starkiller had known Proxy since he was a young apprentice. Vader gave him the prototype holodroid to help sharpen his combat skills. And while Proxy played a crucial role in making Starkiller a top-notch duelist, he also provided the much-needed compassion and support to keep Starkiller sane. Even though Starkiller had to be cautious around Proxy because of his Kill Master programming, there was a natural bond between them. Starkiller cared for Proxy, and even let the droid have some moments of pride in his combat abilities, even if it meant prolonging their battles. As Starkiller grew older, Proxy became a source of humanity and companionship, helping him stay grounded. Their relationship went beyond just functionality. Proxy was a true friend to Starkiller, and he refused to abandon him. Their friendship became a lifeline for both of them, especially when Proxy's programming was erased. They saved each other, and in doing so, Proxy played a part in Starkiller's eventual redemption. Does he have any love interests? When Galen Merrick first crossed paths with the powerful and beautiful Juno Eclipse, he wasn't quite sure how to react. The first few times he encountered the female pilot, their interactions were pretty awkward, but as time passed, he started feeling more comfortable with her. Being around her brought him great happiness. She made an effort to maintain a lighthearted atmosphere between them. He still chided himself for continuing to engage with her, ignoring his best interests. As their relationship progressed, Merrick began to feel concerned over how intense it was getting, and before their bond deepened further, he wanted to cut it off. But when he was later reconstructed, he went against Vader's orders to sever all ties to his past and rescued Juno. He couldn't quite put his finger on why, but to some extent, he wanted her approval. It genuinely hurt him when she found out about his continued service to Vader and got angry. But once the secret was out, he decided to bring her fully into his confidence. He began to develop a desire to keep her in his life. He even considered the idea of leading the Rebel Alliance instead of returning to Vader and the Sith. However, that option was taken away when Vader betrayed him. With his loyalty to the Sith cause gone, he finally acknowledged his love for Juno. His deep affection for her ultimately influenced him to turn to the light side of the Force. It's interesting how love can have an effect on the strongest of convictions held by the most mighty of individuals.
Protect the senators!
Is he immortal? Unfortunately for him, our hero's powers don't include immortality. He embraced his death at the hands of Emperor Palpatine. The Emperor was convinced that it was Galen's fate to vanquish him by succumbing to his feelings of hatred. Galen wrestled with this temptation, but ultimately chose to repent, extinguishing his lightsaber. That's when Palpatine sprang into action. He snarled at Master Yoda, declaring that neither the Rebels nor the Jedi would ever have Galen. The Emperor attacked with a furious burst of lightning, hitting the Jedi Master in the back. Without hesitation, Galen stepped into the deadly stream of lightning, enduring excruciating pain as he absorbed the energy. Summoning every ounce of strength, Galen advanced on the Emperor while they remained locked in this deadly exchange. At the same time, a squadron of stormtroopers, led by a limping Darth Vader, entered the chamber in pursuit of the rebel leaders. With no other option, Galen seized the Emperor's shoulders. He redirected the lightning into the Dark Lord, making Palpatine share in his own torment. Driven by concern for his friends, Galen tapped into the Force completely and released all the pent-up energy. This unleashed a massive shockwave that not only killed the stormtroopers, but also shattered much of the chamber's dome. In his final moments, Galen felt himself leaving his body as death overtook him. His last thoughts were of Juno Eclipse, as he whispered his birth name one last time before becoming one with the Force. Despite his physical demise, his spirit endures within the Force.
Wait! Don't.
Juno?
Yes.
Strike her down.
I can't!
You will. You were created to do my bidding.
Marvelous verdict. In conclusion, delving into the anatomy of the intriguing Galen Merrick, also known as Starkiller, reveals a character of remarkable depth and complexity within the Star Wars universe. Starkiller's journey is a testament to his enduring struggle between light and dark, from his tumultuous upbringing to his training as Darth Vader's secret apprentice. His extraordinary force abilities, honed through intense training, and his unique connection with his droid companion Proxy make him a formidable force across the galaxy. Starkiller's relationships, particularly with Juno Eclipse, showcase the power of love and compassion in the face of darkness. His tragic demise, where he sacrifices himself to defeat Emperor Palpatine, represents his ultimate need for redemption. Although Galen Merrick's tale primarily exists within the Star Wars Legends lore, his influence on the Star Wars narrative cannot be ignored. His character serves as a reminder that during the bleakest moments, hope can still illuminate our path. That's all for today, but if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.